Where in the world are you, Carmen Sandiego?
I am in New Orleans. I am in the ESPN compound. I am here, been here all week long, and we'll be here through the game on Sunday, Jen.
Wonderful. Can we talk about Myles Garrett for a moment? I know yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, you sort of made it bleak for fan bases and franchises that might be interested in his services. What do you believe is the latest on the Myles Garrett demanding a trade, asking for a trade situation?
Well, bleak would be the wrong word, Jen. I think we try to be practical and realistic about where it's at. And I know it's fun to talk about a trade. And by the way, the Browns may eventually come around on trading him. But to date, they have given no inclination whatsoever that they're interested in trading Myles Garrett. So they're going to have to move off their stance before there's a trade. And I think Myles Garrett, I don't know how strong his stomach is to create chaos and to sit out and risk game checks and risk the wrath of fans. Now, I think a lot of people understand, hey, Cleveland doesn't win, hasn't won. We understand why you're frustrated, so we support you. There certainly would be a segment of fans that would be on his side, but there would be people that would be pissed off about it. And I also want to point out that I think in each of the last 3 years, we've had multiple players demand trades only to not be traded. Lamar Jackson did it as John Harbaugh was walking into a breakfast meeting to meet reporters at the owners' meetings a couple of years ago. He wound up re-signing with Baltimore. Deebo Samuel demanded a trade. He wound up re-signing with the Niners. Brandon Ayuk demanded a trade. He wound up re-signing. Now, the difference is all those guys, it was about the contract. This is not about the contract. This is about the performance. So there is a difference. And I don't know if Cleveland can make it right, but usually when teams come to players and they say, hey, I know you don't want to be here, but we're going to take care of you here. We're going to make you the highest paid defensive player in football, the highest paid non-quarterback in football. Sometimes it has a way of working out. Now, this, again, he's adamant it has nothing to do with money, and that's fine. But money sometimes solves these things, and sometimes it doesn't. And if he's prepared to sit and wait for a long period of time, then maybe eventually he'll get to force a trade to where he wants. But I don't think because he issued that trade on Monday, the Browns are waking up going, oh boy, Myles Garrett's unhappy. Okay, let's get on the phone now and let's see what kind of offers we get. They're not doing that.
And Adam, I've seen some of the offers, which aren't, I don't know, they're not great.
Offers.
I'm just saying people, not offers, but people, pundits throwing out a first and a third. Hypotheticals.
Yeah,
the only way Cleveland's going to do this is if they break the bank, right? If they get 2 first-round picks for the guy. They're not going to do it for a first and a third and Lucas Van Ness. Would you agree?
The Browns have already said that they're not interested in trading him for 2-1s. Now, again, you take it for what it's worth. Maybe that's just them trying to create leverage. I'm just telling you. Having spoken, they're not interested in trading him right now. They're not going to trade him. That doesn't mean they won't change their mind in a month or two, but right now, they're not interested in trading him.
It would have to be before the draft, right? If they were to change their mind, it would have to happen before the draft. I know they can mitigate what the cap hit would be if they trade him post June 1, but at that point, the draft's come and gone. Then the picks you're getting are, who knows what they are because it's going to be future draft picks and you don't know the draft order. This would have to be, if they were to do it, they would have to change their mind before the draft, right?
I would think that is an artificial deadline for them to change their mind. Again, I think when Khalil Mack got traded, he got traded that summer when he had demanded it. It went on, and again, by the way, the Raiders, we're not trading him. And 4, 5, 6 months later, whenever it was, I think it was in August, he was traded. So, yes, the draft is one artificial deadline, but it is not an absolute because, by the way, we could come up with the draft as a deadline for the Browns and their picks, but then they say, we're not trading him. They hold to that position. Myles Garrett doesn't show at training camp. He's issuing statements every day, ripping the team. That's what I'm saying. How strong is his stomach? How much chaos is he willing to create? How long is he willing to sit to prove his point? Because I think it might take something like that to get them to the point where maybe it's in August, right before the start of the season, that they say we can't deal with this anymore. We're trading him in August, right? Yes, the draft is one artificial deadline, but that's not a hard and fast deadline, and it could go on longer than that.
Adam Schefter hanging out with Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Adam, we were just talking about GMs. We were talking about their hit rates. Paul 𝘾𝙃𝙀𝙀, Hembo, obviously, as we know him, he sends out every year around the draft success rates at various positions. And, he bases it on whether or not they get a second contract with the team that drafted them. And it seems like it's about 50%. It seems like it's about 50% at most positions. How do GMs grade themselves? And I'm sure there's a spectrum there. But we were talking about Brian Gutekunst, and he hasn't hit on every draft pick, although Gabe reminds us that the roster right now is almost completely constructed with draft picks for the Green Bay Packers. They are a draft and develop team. How, in your experience with general managers, do they grade each draft? Are they about a 50%? If they can hit on 50%, that feels successful to them. Does it need to be higher than that? What is your understanding of how they look at that?
Well, before I answer that, Jen, I just looked. 𝘾𝙃𝙀𝙀 was traded September 1st, 2018. September 1st. I'm looking here. Chicago Bears reached a record-setting 6-year, $141 million extension with 𝘾𝙃𝙀𝙀 on Saturday. A source told somebody named ESPN's Adam Schefter. So that was September 1st, 2018 when he was traded. Now, again, we're not looking at September 1st for Myles Garrett, but you just don't know how it's going to play out. As for GMs grading themselves, look, there's not a GM in the league. Like 𝘂𝘃𝙀𝙀, in my mind, is as good a GM as there is in the league. And at one point in time, he took Jalen Reagor ahead of Justin Jefferson. So, they're human. Every one of them makes mistakes. The key is that they make more hits. They have more hits than they do misses. And Brian Gutekunst has had more hits than misses, and 𝘂𝘃𝙀𝙀's had more hits than misses. And there's not a specific formula or numerical formula that you apply that says a GM is or isn't doing a good job. You know what it is? It's the one-loss record of that team on a year-to-year basis. That's what tells you whether or not the GM is doing a good job. That the win percentage, not the hit percentage, because there are various ways to build teams, either through the draft, through trades, through waivers, through signing undrafted free agents. There are a lot of ways, and some people excel in certain areas, others are stronger in other areas. But I just think you look at the way that team's perform. And by the way, we all can look at it, and you can just say, yeah, that team's got a pretty good roster. They've hit on a lot of picks. Nobody hits on every pick. Nobody, not even close.
Adam, I saw that Andy Reid said he's going to coach for at least one more season. You think he's tired? Because if he wins this game, he's kind of within reach of Belichick, especially with Mahomes and all the years he has left. You think he needs a reset? I mean, he's been head coach for a long time now, and it's a grind. Do you believe him there?
What? Oh, my God. First of all, and not to diminish Andy Reid's job, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yeah.
He makes $20 million a year, roughly. He's coaching Patrick Mahomes. He's got great coordinators in Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo. He can delegate as much as he wants, and it allows him to kind of run Chiefs Kingdom, run the team the way he wants, the way he knows how, is one of the greatest coaches ever. And maybe he's not getting in the office. I don't know this, but maybe he's not getting in the office at 5 a.m. the way he used to. Maybe he could stroll in at a more humane hour. Maybe he leaves a little earlier. And he knows he's done this long enough. He knows how to pace himself. But and at some point, it will be enough for him. But as long as you're coaching that quarterback on that team with that salary, with those why would you not take that as long as you could until you felt like you couldn't do it anymore? And I don't think he's slowing down.
And you got the State Farm commercials. Fumble-rooski. Come on. He's living the good life.
No, but I know. But I look at Spagnuolo, and I'm like, God, he should have probably got... Did he get interviews for a head coaching job? Or is it like, hey, I'm going to turn this over to you in two years, so just hang tight? That happens. No? I mean, I started talking about retiring after my 5th year. I'm like, every training camp, I'm like, this sucks. I'm out of here. This is my last year. And of course,
but you were getting hit.
True.
Andy's not getting hit, man.
Good point. It's fair.
Wait, we have breaking news that just came in.
Oh.
You ready?
Yep. Andy Reid retired?
Hold on, I got bubbles on this text. This is big news.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the second part of it. I want to be able to tell the full story.
Should we
we
just
go.
talk amongst ourselves?
Well, I do love that Adam was like, I have breaking news. And Chewy was like, I'll take care of it. Let me handle it.
My wife's iPad has been found. She left it at the airport yesterday, flying back to Newark, New Jersey.
Huge news here on Jen, Dave, and Chewy. Exclusively. That's the only place you can find that type of news.
I just got a text. They found my iPad. Like, I was dealing with an hysterical wife yesterday. She was in New Orleans with me, and basically she's like, I left my iPad on the plane. So flying down here Sunday, without getting personal, my wife locked herself out of her iPhone, and she's a type 1 diabetic and could not get like the meter readings that she needed. 8 hours. We got to New Orleans and spent our first night in New Orleans with her on the phone with Apple support for over 2 hours trying to get her phone unlocked because she couldn't remember any code. I don't know what's going on here. I may have to turn her in for a younger model here at some point.
Hold on, Adam. Was
Dump
part
that.
of it?
Dump that.
Protect our
Hit
guy.
the button, okay?
Protect our guy.
He knows not what he says.
Was part of it your fault though? Because it would have been my fault. For sure.
It's always my fault. It's always my
Yes.
She left it's my fault. It was my fault she left it, of course. Always my fault, right, Julie?
Adam.
Always your fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once again, great stuff from you. And I would be remiss if I did not say what a great job Dylan is doing yet again on her coverage down there at the Super Bowl. You must be so proud watching her work.
Well, Jen, it was her third. I think it was her third media night on Monday night, and she was bouncing around from stage to stage. And she texted last night. She was all excited that she got done. She was up next to Travis Kelce, and she asked Travis Kelce his favorite Taylor Swift album or song, or I forget. And she's like, "Was that a dumb question?" I'm like, "No, it's a great question." Well, long story, she was beating herself up over it, as interviewers sometimes can. Jen, we know how this works, and all of a sudden she texted me something last night that they played her question in exchange with Travis Kelce on TMZ last night.
Woohoo!
Oh, that's awesome.
All right,
Good for her.
Dylan. Way to give the people what they want, right?
The moral of the story is no question is a dumb question. There you go, Dylan.
Adam, we
good to
appreciate
know.
you. I hope you and your family have a wonderful time in New Orleans. I hope we get a good game. That's really all I'm rooting for, man. I just want a good game. Not a one-sided affair and where you're like, okay, I'm out. Watching for the commercials and the halftime show at this point.
There you go. That's it should be a good matchup. There's a lot on the line.
Yep.
The most.
There is. All right. You get back to your text messages. You tell your wife.
Jen, hopefully there's not too many fumble rooskies on Sunday.
Fumble Rooski. That's fun to say, right? Like, that's not just me. Yeah, okay, good.
Fumble rooskies. It's just fun to say. These burgers are to eat for Andy. So he's having a lot of fun.
All right. Adam, have a great one. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.